call the regular Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Let the record reflect it is Tuesday, July 7th, 2020 at 6:08 p.m. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the Governor Pritzker's Disaster Proclamation, Public Act 101-0640, which amends requirements of the meetings due to COVID-19 pandemic. Pursuant to the same, the village board finds that it would be impractical to conduct an in-person meeting with all members. I would ask at this time that the elected officials confirm that they can hear one another. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenberg. No Vandenberg. All the materials for the meeting are available on the village's website, and we recommend the members of the public follow the agenda as posted. I, the chair, has a list of all public comments or commenters. I will call on each person present at the meeting and afford them 6 minutes for the comment. The public was also provided the opportunity to submit a request until noon today by email to the clerk's office at tinleypark.org by placing their written request in the drop box at the village hall to participate publicly with a live telephone call at the relevant portion of the public meeting. And the public was provided the opportunity to submit written comments until noon today by emailing their public comments to clerk's office at tinleypark.org or by placing their written comment in a drop box at Village Hall. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Laura, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Berg,
Here.
Trustee Brady,
Here.
Trustee Brennan,
Here.
Trustee Galante. Here. Trustee Glatz,
Present.
Trustee Mueller,
Here.
President Vandenberg.
Thank you. Item 2, consider approval of the minutes of the special meeting of the whole held on June 16th. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Berg, I'll second.
Thank you, Cindy. Madam, or Laura, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Berg,
Yes.
Trustee Brady,
Yes.
Trustee Brennan,
Yes.
Trustee Galante. Yes. Trustee Glatz,
Yes,
Trustee Mueller,
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you, Laura. Item 3, discuss the Avenue Train Station Commercial Space RFQ. Priscilla, you gonna take that for us, please?
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Glatz. So I just want to tell you all about the RFQ, the request for qualifications that we're putting out. The village is requesting qualifications from business owners interested in operating a cafe within the Tinley Park 80th Avenue commuter station. We're looking for, obviously, high-quality retail or service firm with an excellent operating record, whose use of the train station will, in addition to serving over 2,400 daily Metro commuters, create a destination for residents and visitors during off-peak train station hours. Business owners will be required to submit a business plan, which should include information on the owner's retail experience, proposed services offered, management background, operating budget, marketing plan, and proposed license agreement. The village will enter into a non-exclusive license agreement with the selected firm, which will include a monthly base license fee plus a percentage of the licensee's gross sales ranging from 2 to 2.5%. Issuance of the RFQ is tentatively scheduled for this Friday, July 10th, with a due date of September 1st. We're hoping for approval at the village board meeting September 15th. It's a little bit aggressive, that turnaround, but that's all tentative. These are some of the qualifications we're considering as we determine who the best qualified respondent would be. definitely looking at their demonstrated overall experience and expertise of management and other key staff with operating a retail space, quality and soundness of the proposed business plan and business model. We'd like to see a business model that focuses on meeting the needs of metro commuters and the community. And last, we would look at the terms and conditions of the proposed retailer's license agreement, including revenue to the Village of Tinley Park. I'm requesting feedback on the proposed request for qualifications for the 80th Avenue Metro Station, and happy to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Priscilla. Let's go around the room. Trustee Berg, do you have any questions for Priscilla?
No, I'm excited to see who responds. Thank you, Priscilla.
Trustee Brady?
No, everything sounds good and in order.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes. I see in there, it was, looks like, was our old agreement with the previous vendor, were we getting 2% from them?
It was a range, so there was a base fee. Am I able to disclose that base fee was $1,100 a month was the licensing fee, and then it ranged up from, depending on revenues, so up to $300,000 in revenues was 2%, and then it scaled up from there, $300,000 to $400,000, I believe, all the way up to 2.5%, depending on revenues.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any wiggle room that we would have on that to possibly scale that up even further to generate more revenue for the village, or will we be overreaching at that point?
I do think there's wiggle room, and part of what we asked for in the RFQ is that they would propose what that would look like. I've looked at comparable space, looking at, even though it is a licensing agreement and not a lease agreement, I still looked at what does a typical restaurant pay for space. And most restaurants are, occupancy costs are 8 to 10% is the industry average. We're much lower than that, so I would propose that we increase, at the very least, that base licensing fee. Because the percentage of revenues, if they do well, we do well.
Right.
And that goes up, scales up. But at the very least, and again, this agreement was done back in 2013. It's 2020. Of course, we have to take into account it's a COVID environment, and that brings other challenges. But definitely, to answer your question, there's definitely wiggle room, and that is up to negotiation.
Yeah, we wrote this as an RFQ, so it would allow us, depending on the types of business that we, that are applying, and the types of revenues they're generating, that's why we wrote it as a monthly base fee plus a range of sales from 2 to 2.5%. So there is flexibility, and I think we want that just depending on the type of business generally.
Okay. All righty.
Thanks, Bill. Trustee Mueller?
No, I know Priscilla and I have talked about this. I certainly worry about when we're going to get the ridership back to the numbers that we were seeing before. I think that's a huge concern. I do like your first kind of, your point about how you're going to evaluate with the overall experience of the proposed retailer. I think it's going to be important that they find ways outside of ridership to bring revenue in there with a restaurant at night or catering or whatever that additional service is, just because I know these commuters come and go pretty quickly during the day and at night especially. So overall, love it. Hopeful that we get the respondents that we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Priscilla, for the work on this.
Okay.
Mike? Yeah, we're going, you'll be after me. Where was I now? My only concern is, like Mike was mentioning, is a base fee, since the ridership is so low. I think anyone that goes in there is gonna struggle. So I guess we'll just see what happens with what comes back.
Sure, I think when we get those back, we can take a look at that and see what they're proposing. I mean, we're asking them for projections for the location, and in my ideal world, this is someone who has a first location somewhere else and wants to open up a second location, knows what they're doing. That's why we say we're looking at their retail experience and propose overall experience and quality and soundness of their business plan. Within those projections, we ask for them to include that licensing fee. So, we're giving them the opportunity to propose what that base licensing fee is, and we can take a look at that and then decide.
Great, thanks, Priscilla. Trustee Galante?
Will they, this will be the same as like Cavallini's is, they'll have private events, I mean, it's their, they can lease it out however, or rent it out however they want. What did we collect from them in the past on, above the regular licensing fee, when they hit their threshold?
For the previous location, I didn't bring those numbers with me, but we do have them.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to understand what kind of numbers they were doing
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
To understand that. Because they, Cavallini's does a really good business over there for private events. And hopefully, somebody else will come in there. And I understand during a COVID environment, there has to be some adjustments, but hopefully we won't base that on, how we're gonna lease this out. That should be something separate, what we're gonna do for them during this COVID, I would hope. That would be my suggestion.
We have the revenue generated. I have that in an email, so I can certainly get that out.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, so Dave, you want a motion to move it to the board, or is this just to discuss?
This is just a motion to let us go out to bid, and obviously this will come back to you for discussion, approval, or an actual lease agreement.
Okay. You want
So
You want a roll call for it, or just a motion? What works?
I think just a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thanks, Brett.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, should we still do a roll call on it, even though? just to-
It was more of a direction role. I don't think you need that.
Thanks. Thank you, Pat. Number 4, discuss adult use cannabis and dispensary business licensing. Hannah, are you going to take that?
Yep, thanks, trustee Glatz. So far, the village staff has already discussed with the village board regarding the zoning and tax for adult use cannabis. So the last piece of the puzzle is really the creation of a business license fee. Per the Illinois Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, municipalities cannot license adult use cannabis like we can for alcohol or video gaming. It's done solely at the state level through the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. So therefore, we took a look at what other communities have done in terms of creating a business license or what fees they are charging to any cannabis facilities that exist in their communities. Again, without the localities having the ability to license these facilities, there's a range of how they handle this. Some communities don't charge any business license fee, while some charge up to $5,000 plus. So that's really what we're looking for direction on is, despite the varying approaches, if we create a business license fee for the potential of a cannabis facility to come into town, how we would want to do so. Staff recommends anywhere between 2,000 plus the square footage, up to a range of 5,000, depending on how aggressive we would want to be. I would just add that at the state level, the application for a facility is $5,000, and the license itself is $60,000 for a 2-year term. So the state hits them pretty hard. Again, which is why we need some direction on how the municipality would like to license them.
Thanks, Hannah. I personally like the numbers in Mundelein and Peoria for the amount of revenue that they're probably going to be bringing in. I don't think that's much of a fee to ask for, or the 5,000. And the other thing is too is, do we have anything in here requiring any of these businesses to have some type of security or slash police in there? Because I think that's something that should be mandatory.
Sure, so I don't believe that our ordinance, the way, on the zoning side, things are written, that it includes it right now. I do know that it's very common, it's a norm for these facilities to have a security officer of some sort present. So it's definitely something we can look into and include if council thinks it's appropriate, so.
Okay, so after everyone talks, if it's, I'll just make a motion for it at the end, and then, Pat, you could check if it's a
Sure.
state requirement, we're covered. If it's not, I'd like to have it part of Tinley Park.
Sure, I'm almost positive that all
I
the,
can add to that if you like. It is a special use, and we have provided a provision in the recommended, in our proposed ordinance that requires enhancements, building enhancements such as security cameras and lighting, and anything else that the commission will require as part of the review for the special use. But Trustee Glass, we can certainly add guard if you'd like to in the ordinance, or you can make sure that it's done as part of the special use condition.
All right, thanks, Paul. After everyone speaks, then we'll just see what everyone thinks. If everyone's for it, then we'll move forward with it.
and then, I know the state application process, one of the major factors that the state looks at is a full-blown security plan. So those will be submitted to the state, and those will be public record, and they'll have to follow through on
Okay.
those as well.
Thanks. Yeah, just, Trustee Brady?
I agree. I just don't know if it's going to be, is it one of our police officers or a security?
They're on their own. Yeah,
okay.
We have nothing to do with it.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Thanks, Bill. Anything else?
Trustee Glatz, this is Mayor Walsh. I do believe that the gentleman that gave the presentation a couple months ago said that the security is required. I don't know of any location that would not have it. I'm fairly certain that it is, but I will check into that.
Thanks, Matt. Trustee Brennan?
Yeah, I'd agree with Matt there. I think that the gentleman that did the presentation said that the security was definitely required. The only thing that I saw in the, I was happy to see that this is definitely going to be a standalone building, that's required. And the only thing I had a question on is it said 400 feet within, 400 feet of the property line of a pre-existing public school, public or private nursery school, preschool, primary. I thought it was 1,000 feet. I thought that it was supposed to be 1,000 feet as far as the distance from those buildings. So, and it's on page 22. It says the facility may not be located within 400 feet, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't know if it's. So if someone can just double check on that. But I would also agree that, the higher the better for this type of business license. Since I was against this in the beginning, I'd, like to see the village get the most, maximize revenue if we could, so.
Thanks, Bill.
That's it, thank you.
Trustee Mueller?
Yeah, I definitely agree on the standalone building. I like the corridors that the Plan Commission decided on and the staff. I'm comfortable with the 2,000. I could see 3,500. I don't want to discourage this. I think we can adjust things as we see revenue numbers. But I'm comfortable going up to the 3,500, but I'd like to keep it low to begin. I know some of the municipalities had it where it started off low, and as the businesses grew, they were able to take more of a business license fee. So if we want to go higher, I'd say that we go that route rather than kind of getting them all at once when they're trying to get into our community.
Thanks, Mike. And I think most of them are projecting $4 to $6 million.
I understand.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, and I did want to note, so that, as Hannah pointed out, the state did preempt, municipalities from, additional taxation and things of that. So, the license fee really needs to be tied to, and I think, Mike, you just hit on that. That's what kind of happened. There's a lot of work that goes into these, and I know Paul and the planning department put a lot in already, and there'll be a lot more as applicants come. So, You know, it's not just charging a fee, they're going to be tied to, you know, the work that your staff's going to do to get these licensed and get these up and running. So there has to be a relationship there, and I think there is.
Trustee Galante?
I'll agree with the, you know, the higher fee. I think it'd even be nice to be able to do something on revenue, but I don't know that that's really something you can do. Did I, and I don't see it in here now, but I thought I saw something that this would be off of, you know, 159th Harlem, like all the major areas.
Mhm.
Was that in here?
I would defer to Paul. for
B2
further
and
info on that.
B3.
It was
Yeah.
B2,
So-
B3, but it was Harlem, LaGrange, and
159th.
159th.
It
Yeah.
could be.
It's
Yes.
on page 22 as well.
Okay, thank
And-
you. Otherwise, yeah, I thought it looks good.
Trustee Berg, sorry, I skipped you, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, Michael. I was listening, and I hope that we could capture some revenue by having a licensing fee. And more than, if it's legal, go up to $5,000. It's going to be a huge revenue producer for us. And I think that the Joint Commission on Administrative Rules did put an obligation for the Illinois dispensaries to have security and a security plan and alarm systems and all kinds of. It's like 16 requirements that are needed. So, if it's possible, we should capture some of this revenue, like look at the gaming, how much the small portion of what we're getting to actually what the revenue is. So, if possible, I'm for it.
Thanks, Cindy. Anyone else have anything they want to add again, or before I make? So I'll make a motion to have a fee of 5,000, and we'll double check about some type of security. And again, the reason the 5,000, like Pat said, there's so much time that Paula, her staff, and the attorneys have put into this that we will never get back. So for $5,000, I would think is nothing when you're going to bring in $6 million. So, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Do I roll call it, or?
Yes, yeah, we'll call it.
Can
Just-
you,
just moving it to,
to the board, can you take a roll call, please?
Trustee Berg?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Galante?
Yes.
Trustee Glass?
Yes,
And Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
motion carries. Thanks, Laura. Number 5, receive comments from the public. Laura, is there any public members present that would care to address the committee of the whole tonight?
There is not.
Unless Chief Reader wants to speak. No? You sure? Thank you. Okay, just checking. Were there any written public comments or requested to speak telephonically received for tonight?
No, not for this meeting.
All right, thank you. Let's see. I'll make a motion to adjourn the special committee of the whole at 6:31.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Bill, could you please call the roll, Laura?
Sure. Trustee Berg?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Galante?
Yes.
Trustee Glatz?
Yes?
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:31, Laura.